Good morning, Boston. Okay, today is the day. It is, to me, a very tragic day, a very sad day. I think there's just no other way to put it. For our country, for our republic, for our Constitution, and clearly for our standing in the world. Today at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, former President Donald Trump, leading presidential candidate Donald Trump, will be arraigned in a federal courthouse in Miami on 37 counts, 31 of them having to do with violations of the Espionage Act. At a core of the entire case against Trump is they say that he illegally retained and mishandled classified documents. In particular, quote unquote, national defense information. That is the heart and soul of the case against Trump. Everything else, the violations of the Espionage Act, obstruction, false statements, conspiracy to commit obstruction, stem from this seminal accusation. And I've got to say this, my friends. I've said it many, many times, but now it really bears repeating. And I'm speaking now about members of Congress. Congress is what I'm talking about. Where are the men? Where are the men? Where are the people of character, spine, guts, let's be frank, cojones, with the guts to stand up for our constitutional democracy, to stand up for the rule of law, to stand up, frankly, for basic decency in our country? Because, again, yesterday, it was the women in Congress, Nancy Mace, Congresswoman, Anna Paulina Luna, Congresswoman, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Congresswoman, who are the only ones. Now, there's a few, Andy Ogles, Tennessee congressman, no question. You have a few men. I'm kind of sweeping with a broad brush now, but for the most part, the most vocal champions of impeaching Donald Trump, of impeaching Joe Biden for the persecution and prosecution of Donald Trump are women. Marjorie Taylor Greene is the only one who has led the charge for impeaching Biden, Harris, and Garland. Marjorie Taylor Greene, whatever you think about her, yesterday now has written legislation, an appropriations rider as it's called, to call for the full defunding of the special counsel's office. In other words, you know what? Just bleed them of money. Cut off the entire source of money. How is Jack Smith going to conduct his witch hunt if he has no money for himself, his staff, or his investigation? And yet, nowhere do I see, especially in the leadership of the Republican Party, the men are a bunch of wusses. There's no getting around it. Kevin McCarthy is a loser. Scalise is a loser. Every single one of them are, to me, an absolute disgrace. They have shown not even a scintilla of courage. What about their oath to uphold and defend the Constitution? And here, my friends, I get to the heart of the matter. The president now has been given bad advice. I've been saying this now for many, many years. Now I'm really saying it. Trump's lawyers have done a horrible job giving their client advice, defending and protecting their client. And one of the biggest mistakes I believe Trump has made is that he has made the decision, with input from people like Steve Bannon and others, who I highly respect. Don't get me wrong. I like Steve Bannon. I like him a lot. But this notion that you've got to get white-collar lawyers, white-shoe lawyers, to come in, and they charge exorbitant amounts of money and that somehow is going to give you the best legal advice or the legal dream team, I'm telling you, it no work. Because they're a bunch of wimps. They don't have the guts to stand up to an out-of-control rogue Justice Department, an out-of-control rogue president, and his attorney general who are hell-bent on putting Donald Trump behind bars on, frankly, BS charges. Now, let me make it clear, because everybody, whatever you're doing, please stop. You need to understand what I'm about to say now. What we are going to witness today is something out of the old Soviet Union. It is a show trial. It is a kangaroo court. The FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago, it should never have happened. And the FBI and the DOJ should have been sued by Trump's lawyers. Never mind the ridiculous 37 charges against him. Why? Because according to Article 2 of the Constitution, which vests full executive power in the President of the United States, which, by the way, is then further confirmed and codified in law in the Presidential Records Act. And notice, the indictment yesterday, that was unsealed over the weekend, but the indictment that they're going to officially charge Trump with, the 37 counts, make no mention of the Presidential Records Act. How can that be? Because as Article 2 of the Constitution is explicit, the commander-in-chief, who is elected by the American people, has full executive authority, full executive powers, which means in plain English, as the Presidential Records Act says itself, every document that is classified to benefit the President of the United States. It is to be there to serve at the discretion and the will of the President of the United States. Everyone else has to go through a declassification process, not the President of the United States. He determines what's classified and unclassified. And so, any document that comes from the executive branch, he can take with him when he leaves the Oval Office. They're his documents. Every single one of them. Now, if you work for the commander-in-chief, if you work for the chief executive, and in theory, the CIA works at the behest of the president, at the pleasure and leisure of the president. So does the FBI. So does the Justice Department. In the end, they're all accountable to the president. Yes, they have to go through a declassification process if they want to take a document with them. Some are permitted access, some are not permitted access. But the president is permitted access to every single classified, top secret, confidential document. In theory, they're his. They serve him. It's the equivalent. I want you to think of this, okay? Think you're the owner of a business. You're the owner of a business. And there are laws in place or rules, guidance in place about all the employees. All of them, whatever. I want everybody at work by 9 o'clock, and I want everybody out by 6 o'clock. And you come in at 10, and they go, well, we're going to impeach him, or we're going to charge him. Why? I'm the boss. I own it. It's mine. These are for you. They're not for me. Well, it's this, or whatever. You've got to do 10 things before you write an email or send a memo. Well, you didn't do that, Mr. Chief Executive. Yeah, it's my company. So what I'm trying to say is this. The documents that the president took with him, all of them, every single one of them, were declassified by the president because they're his. Now, if you don't believe me, This has also been ratified by precedent. 10 years ago, there was a famous case involving former President Bill Clinton. He had 17 audio recordings he did with a journalist. And in those 17 audio recordings, he talked about military secrets, national security secrets, classified top secret information. He then stored them in his sock drawer. When other groups wanted to have access to them, when the National Archives wanted to have access to them, when people said he cannot have that, that is considered classified or of national security importance, a judge ruled by the sheer fact that he is president or was president of the United States, he had access to take all of those documents with him, all of those information with him, and you know what they told him? Get lost. They belong to Bill Clinton. The documents in Mar-a-Lago, all of them belong to Trump. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, my friends, we should not have the country be going through this. And instead, here we are. As I laid out in the opening monologue, Article 2 of the Constitution, then further codified by the Presidential Records Act, further by precedent in a judge's ruling, a district court judge's ruling, which Bill Clinton was allowed to have 17 audio recordings of where he divulged secret, confidential, military, national security information, and he stuffed them in a sock drawer. And when the National Archives said, we want him, he said, go fly a kite. When other people said he's got to return it, he said, go fly a kite. They're mine, and I spoke about them to a journalist, even though I divulged it with a journalist. I have the right to do so. These are my documents. I took them. I have them. Because classified documents exist primarily for the privilege and benefit of the President of the United States. He has the right to see everything because he's our elected president on behalf of the people. He has the right to have access to everything. And if he says something is declassified, it's declassified. If he wants to take them, he can take them. By the way, those 17 recordings and the documents they discuss, Bill Clinton never had a kind of a quote-unquote formal declassification process. As the judge himself said in the case, they belong to him. They become the personal documents of the President of the United States. So, we should never be in Miami today. The FBI should never have been allowed to raid Mar-a-Lago. Now, whether the documents were stored in a ballroom, whether they're stored in a toilet, wherever they were stored, because he was president of the United States, and those documents related to when he was president of the United States, and he took those files and documents with him, they're his. They don't think about what they're trying to establish. If you want the big picture, here it is. This is what's at stake. The deep state. This is the deep state versus democracy. The deep state is saying, no. We classify. We determine what's secret and what's not secret. We determine what you, the American people, are fit to see and what you're not fit to see. And that includes your own elected president. We trump democracy. We trump your elected representatives. We have more power than you, the American people, or Congress, or the President of the United States. Our secrets must remain secret. And I don't care if you elect them. It doesn't matter. This is your elected representative. We will decide what you can keep, what you can't keep, what you can have, what you can't have. Are you freaking kidding me? This is the deep state now overturning our constitutional democracy. That's what's at stake. Now, remember, our founding fathers warned us. Many of the early leaders of our republic, Patrick Henry, remember, give me liberty or give me death. One of the great defenders of liberty in the history of the United States said, you cannot allow the government to possess and accumulate secrets, because then they commit crimes in the dark, and you cannot hold your elected representatives accountable. That secrets endanger liberty, endanger freedom, enable tyranny and oppression to grow within the federal government. That's exactly what we're seeing here. Trump's real crime was that he declassified the documents regarding Crossfire Hurricane. He's got, or he had, the documents that showed Obama ordered the illegal surveillance of Trump's campaign and then his presidency, and that they knew Russia collusion was a lie started by Hillary Clinton. And this was told to them explicitly by John Brennan, who briefed Obama, who briefed Biden, who briefed James Comey, who briefed Clapper. They all knew about it. And so Trump had hundreds of documents, and that's what they were after when they raided his home in Mar-a-Lago. They wanted to get back proof of the crimes that they had committed. That's what this is all about now. So they're trying now to completely do an end run around the Presidential Records Act, an end run around Article 2 of the Constitution, which says explicitly executive power is vested fully in the executive branch and fully in the chief executive of the executive branch, the President of the United States. That's what's at issue. It is democracy versus the deep state. This case will decide the future of our republic and our democracy. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, lines are jammed. I want to go right to them. I want to play this cut before I go to the incredible callers. I think Tulsi Gabbard is right. You may disagree with me, obviously, but I think she's right. Listen to what she says about Trump and today's historic indictment at a federal courthouse in Miami. Roll cut 27, Mike.
We are here today facing an unprecedented moment where a sitting president of the United States has taken action abusing his power to direct the federal government and justice system to be used against his major political opponent, charging him with multiple crimes. This is not something that should happen in the United States of America. And it could be the final nail in the coffin of our democracy.
I agree. This now is about the deep state versus democracy. That's what this is about. And this could be our final nail. I completely agree with her. And now the question is, what do we do? How do you feel about it? And where do we go from here? 617-266-6868. Jerry in Las Vegas, Nevada. Thanks for holding, Jerry, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. Good morning.
Good morning, Jerry.
So it's like 3:30 a.m. out here.
Are you going to bed soon, or have you gotten up?
I'm an East Coast guy, so my time's all screwed up with this jet lag and whatnot. So,
I got you.
So anyway, I wanted to catch your show this morning. So back to early on in the beginning of your show, you asked where all the men are, and I've been thinking about this for a while on a variety of issues, that you would assume that our conservative or Republican reps and Congress people would vote our way, the way we're thinking. And I go back to something that North Carolina Rep. Madison Cawthorn said, and you can find this, and I just looked it up just for your reference, on Business Insider, CNN, The Guardian, back in March of 2022. He was on a radio show with John Lovell claiming that he was invited to orgies in Washington, in D.C. and he just says that it's completely decadent there. There's sex parties and drugs being used. And I just wonder, you add a little videotape in there, and all these guys are compromised. They're all being extorted, and I'm sure so that's why they're mostly men are stepping back, and you have women stepping up, because all these guys have been caught with, some sexual or drug deviance, and they don't want that out there. It's being held over their head, because that wouldn't surprise me one bit after what we've seen going on with the Clintons and Obama, taping people and spying on people. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. I kind of think that's where happening with a lot of these votes. These guys are just compromised. It's kind of like an Epstein thing. Get them out, get them vulnerable, find out what they like, and videotape them.
I think you're completely right. I think there's no question. Now, when you see the level of assault that's now being waged on the very foundations of our country, and just the tepid, frankly, pathetic response from so many Republican leaders, and these leaders are all men, all of them. You're like, what do they have on you? I mean, it's obvious they have something on you. You're compromised in some way, shape, or form. Now, maybe you're a criminal yourself. Maybe you're part of the swamp yourself, and you don't want the sheriff to come in and clean house. Whatever it may be, I don't know. You're right. It could be sexual. It could be, honestly, there's a lot of pedophilia going around. That's another problem we have. Drugs. There's all, orgies. I mean, it's unbelievable, the decadence and the depravity that is in official Washington. There's no question about it. By the way, that's why they want everything always hush-hush. They want everything secret. The more secret Washington is, the less we know. And remember, this is supposed to be, in theory, our government. They work for us. But notice, by the way, I don't want to get on a side tangent here, Jerry, but that's why they classify every freaking document. Do you know, I was researching, last night and doing show prep, and do you know there's 1 trillion documents generated every year? 1 trillion. 1 trillion. And that there are tens and tens of millions of documents that are classified all the time. And so people think, well, it's classified. Ooh, it's got to be serious. It's got classification written on it. No, 99.9% of all so-called classified documents, it's CYA. Cover your you-know-what. Cover your rear end. It's some government agency, some government bureaucrat saying, oh, geez, I don't want the American people to know this. Or, geez, I really screwed up here, so nobody better find out. So, okay, stamp, classified. So, it's called overclassification. And everybody says it's a massive problem. So, they're doing this because you can commit all kinds of crimes in secret. The only thing you can't do is expose the crimes. Then they will barrel down on you and destroy you. And that's what they're doing with Trump. And so, Jerry, you're dead on. Here, I'm going to get to this later. Chuck Grassley on the floor of the Senate yesterday said now, in this unredacted, in the FD 1023, this form, where the Biden bribery Burisma document, now they have found that the Burisma executive, who's the oligarch that basically calls the shots in Ukraine, has audio recordings, 17 of them, of Hunter and Joe, 15 on Hunter, 2 on Joe Biden, where he's got him on tape taking the bribes. He's got him on tape. And Grassley says, why is all this redacted in the document? It's an unclassified document. Why are you redacting something that literally is unclassified? And we're Congress and we're asking for the document. You won't give us the document. Like, who the hell are you? And not only will you not give us the document, now you're redacting stuff which is unclassified to protect Joe Biden and his degenerate son? Like, Who works for who? So my point is just this. They will classify or redact anything that is embarrassing to politicians, the regime, the swamp, or the deep state. Because the less we know, the more they can operate in the shadows. The more they operate in the shadows, the more they can get $5 million bribes, and kickbacks, and money laundering, and engage in all of this massive corruption. So, to me, it's absolutely incredible. But this is where we are. So, Joe Biden can have 1,850 freaking boxes in a freaking Corvette garage. And remember, he was never president when he had those boxes. So, he couldn't declassify anything. Nothing. Hillary Clinton, 33,000 classified emails and documents she destroyed. They were subpoenaed, destroyed them on a private server, destroyed them. And then with the freaking hammer, smashed all the phones to make sure you never got a digital copy of what she did. Nothing. No Espionage Act violation. No, nothing. Trump, those are all his documents. I don't care if they're stored in a bathroom, in a ballroom. Honestly, he could take a fire to them. He could just say, you know what, guys, we're going to have ourselves a big bonfire on me. And they're his. So it's akin, all these idiots in the media, those documents, those boxes, all the documents on the floor, next to a toilet, oh my God, how could he be, what he's doing to our national security, oh my God. They're all his. It's like my office. You come into my office, there are newspapers everywhere, magazines everywhere. And you say, oh my God, what a mess. They're mine, man. How I take care of them, that's none of your business. They're getting him literally now on nothing. On nothing. Because the deep state wants to tell all of us, we decide what's classified. We decide what's unclassified. We decide what you can see or what you can't see, and what a president can take and what a president can't take. It's unbelievable. It's literally now a war on democracy. And you're right. The reason why Congress is not pushing back, and the reason why the Republicans are a bunch of feckless, yellow-livered, good-for-nothing cowards. I'm telling you, McCarthy should be ashamed of himself. We gotta beg him to impeach Joe Biden? Are you freaking kidding me? 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, my friends, today is the day. Trump will be charged federally in a district court in Miami, incredibly, ludicrously, for violations of the Espionage Act. Now, let me ask all of you this question. Who's the victim? When there's a crime, there's generally supposed to be a victim. Who's the victim? Who has been victimized by Trump supposedly having those classified documents at his residence in Mar-a-Lago? Who's been hurt? Who? Have they shown that President Trump gave one document, one, to say Russia or China or Iran? Have they proven that he engaged in any kind of espionage or colluded with some spy and handed over our nuclear secrets? Who's the victim? It's like Alvin Bragg and his indictment. Who's the victim? Who is the victim? There is none. There is none. They're out to get him. And that's what this indictment is all about. As Lavrenti Beria famously told Stalin, Stalin, show me the man, I'll show you the crime. 617-266-6868. Lines are on fire. Harry in Newburyport. Thanks for holding, Harry, and welcome.
Yeah, Jeff, what we need to do coming up is every time a Republican is before the cameras and they're asked a question about Trump, they need to divert the question or the answer and start talking about all the facts that the American people don't know. That's how we got to get the message out. Then we have to have a press conference by Trump or somebody of high leadership to point out all of the facts that the average American doesn't know because they don't watch anything but mainstream media. We got to get the information out because once the people hear, you're preaching to the choir. We all know the story. I listened to Jesse Waters talking about he had a long discussion with his mother, who's a screaming liberal. She was totally unaware of half the facts that we take for granted. So we got to get the message out so that we could put this all on display, and that includes having the House committees do a hearing so that it's televised and then leading up to impeachment. Even though impeachment's not going to pass the Senate, just having the impeachment will display all the information that the American people aren't aware of.
I agree with you. I completely agree with you. But here's I guess the question I'm posing. Here, let me just give you an example, okay? And tell me, Harry, what you think of it. Eric Holder yesterday said, because he was asked, well, what if Trump wins in 2024? Because now his poll numbers are getting better and better and better. And the Biden regime, as we know, is collapsing on every front. So he can easily just pardon himself. And that's it. All this goes away. Now, Holder's answer was, we impeach. If Trump wins in 2024, Holder told the liberal media, CNN, MSNBC, with all of them nodding their head up and down, like, yeah, we're going to do it, the Democrats impeach immediately. Now, contrast that with Republicans. You got $5 million bribe to Joe Biden, $5 million to his son. You've got, it's evidence, it's there, we've got him. Now they've even got freaking audio recordings. The guy's on tape. So never mind the bank accounts, never mind the Burisma executive, never mind they've got him 6 ways to Sunday. They still won't freaking impeach. So what I got to ask you, Harry, is this. We've got irrefutable mountains of evidence. The guy is guilty as sin. This guy's the Jeffrey Dahmer Biden is of politics. How many more people does he have to kill before you finally make a move? They won't touch him. What say you?
Well, your previous caller might have touched on something. All of the leading Republicans, McCarthy especially, are compromised. They've got something on them, so we're going to have to depend on those people that are clean, the few of them we have, to come forward. But the biggest thing is we've got to get the message out. And that Eric Holder statement last night will be a great soundbite for the Republicans to use to ensure that we get the House and the Senate. If we don't get the House and Senate, we're not going to get the presidency. So I think if we get the presidency, we'll be sure to get the House and the Senate. So it's all or nothing. It's only one man's going to be standing at the end of this.
I agree. No, on that I completely agree. Harry, thank you as always. Really interesting call. Susie in Newton. Thanks for holding, Susie, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Susie.
Hi. Needless to say, this is heart-wrenching and it's despicable what's going on. But I feel that impeachment is not the answer. There's plenty of evidence to bring treason charges against the chief cadaver in charge. I don't know why they're holding back and not charging him with treason. Maybe you have somebody that you can ask or you have the answer for me. But to me, it's as clear as day. Impeachment isn't the answer here. And again, yes, he's older than dirt, and treason does come with the death penalty, and it's not going to be very the impact is going to be that when you commit crimes like this, you will be held accountable. And again, he's older than dirt. It's not really going to affect his life anymore. It's not going to put an end to his glorious life. He doesn't have much left anyway. But treason, he's committed treason. Nobody's realizing that he has committed treason.
Oh, there's no question. I mean, let's leave aside China, which is massive, and how they've bribed him and his family and his administration, and how he has betrayed us to Beijing. Let's just keep it to Burisma in Ukraine. He took money. They have him on tape. They have the transcripts. They have the receipts. They've got everything. In fact, look, if you really want to get into it, the Burisma executive tells this FBI confidential source he wants to get into the U.S. oil business. He wants to get U.S. oil rights, start investing with U.S. oil companies, because he says the money's even bigger there than there is in Ukraine. And so the confidential source says, well, why don't you just, you've got Hunter on the board of Burisma. Ask Hunter. He's got influence. It's him and his dad. Quote, and it's Zlochevsky. He's the key oligarch in Ukraine. Zlochevsky says, because Hunter's quote, it's a direct quote, he's too dumb and stupid. That's literally what he says. So the confidential source says, well, if he's that dumb and stupid, why do you, this is how the conversation began. So why do you have him on the board? And the executive says, well, the reason why we have him on the board is because we've got his father by the testicles. And we've got both by the testicles, because I gave one $5 million and the other one $5 million. And we said, in exchange for this $5 million, you are going to do us a lot of favors. One of them is you're going to fire the Ukrainian prosecutor, Viktor Shokin, who's investigating us. And of course, as you know, Susie, Biden is caught on tape bragging to the Council of Foreign Relations, saying, well, yeah, the government needed $1 billion. Ukraine barely could pay their bills. They were on a lifeline. Biden was in the capital of Ukraine. And he said, I'm on the plane in the runway. And I said, you want your $1 billion? Fire Shokin. So the executive says he delivered for us. Biden delivered. We gave him the 10 mil. He delivered. Now, what is clear, Susie, is that they're blackmailing Biden. Because now untold, unlimited billions of dollars are flowing into the war in Ukraine, much of it stolen, and there is no national interest of ours at stake. So this man in the White House is throwing hundreds of billions of our dollars because he's compromised, corrupt, and owned by the Ukrainians. And he's now on the verge of getting us into World War III. How this is not the biggest story in the world is beyond me. But it's not Biden that's in the dock. It's Trump that's in the dock for documents that he has every right to have. Every single one of them. They're his. They belong to him. Under the Article 2, under the Presidential Records Act, under precedent by a district court ruling regarding Bill Clinton. Clinton can have 17 audio recordings in a sock drawer. But Trump can't have boxes of documents? I don't think so. So, Susie, the question now is, why are Republicans refusing to go after this regime? And the only conclusion I can come to is, they're just as dirty. They're just as dirty. What have the Republicans done under McCarthy? What have they done? The money keeps going to Ukraine. They haven't defunded the IRS. They've still got 85,000 agents that are coming. They haven't defunded the FBI. They haven't defunded the IRS. What have they done? Nothing. Except like a chihuahua. Yap, 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 yap. The Democrats, to give them they do, they impeach. They impeach over nothing. So, I don't know what else to tell you, man. In the end, we got to hold Republicans accountable. Yes, there's a traitor in the White House, but you got to have the patriotism to remove the traitor. 617-266-6868 is the number. Dane in the great state of South Dakota. Thanks for holding, Dane, and welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. Yes, real quick before I make my main point, I want to interject something. Of course, tomorrow we know that is Flag Day in the United States, and there's also President Trump's birthday. And, I was feeling a little patriotic, so I went to Mount Rushmore a couple of days ago, and it was raining. And of course, those faces up there are known as the faces of freedom. And I'm telling you, as a symbolic thing, those rain coming down on those faces looked like they were crying. And it's sort of symbolic of what's happening in the country. And I know I'm crying. But anyway, to my main point, these bogus charges against President Trump, okay, are so bogus, it's unbelievable, it's laughable, as you say. However, the one that really grinds my goat is the espionage one. Okay, let's just take it at face value and common sense. Now, here's somebody, President Trump, who has the most incredible life, billionaire, beautiful wife, beautiful family, beautiful real estate, golf courses all over the world, everything a man would want. He loves the military. He loves his country, but he wants to dabble in espionage? What BS. This is so sickening. It makes me sick to my stomach that what they're doing here is just so rotten and so rotten to the core. It stinks from high heaven. And another thing, Article 4, Section 4. If people read that, there's 3 points in there. One of them is the fact that we are entitled to a Republican form of government, and also that we are to be provided from an invasion, and also that domestic violence. None of those 3 things are happening in this country right now. None of them. The government, the Congress is not providing any of those protections of the Constitution of the United States, okay, which says, in that case, we, the people, can take action. And I want to see people take action because I know I am.
Dane, look, let me put my cards on the table. I think this is going to get destroyed in court. One of the reasons why you're seeing Trump, yes, he's very angry. There's no question. He fears for the future of our country. I think on this issue, he and Tulsi Gabbard and Alan Dershowitz and so many others are on the same page, which is this would destroy this will be the final nail in our democracy. If you allow this precedent to go forward, okay, leave aside the former president, that the Justice Department can do the bidding of the current administration, the incumbent president, and charge his leading political rival and try to put him behind bars to get rid of him. That's, by the way, we sanctioned Russia for that. I mean, literally, I'm not kidding. There was a Lyndon LaRouche type candidate, okay, a bit of a really far out guy who was challenging Putin. And Putin ordered the local mayor to imprison this guy. And we imposed sanctions on Russia, saying, how dare you imprison a political candidate who is going to challenge Putin in the election? And forget some local mayor doing it. This is Biden, his Justice Department, and his special counsel doing it to a former president. And he's not just leading the Republican primary. Trump is leading Biden in the polls. So the lead, not some fringe Lyndon LaRouche type guy, literally the leading presidential candidate. And you're putting him behind bars? In fact, if you want, it's a complete violation of the First Amendment. Complete violation of the First Amendment. But I want to get back to this point. The judge in the case, I'm telling you, is going to shred this indictment because it violates Article 2. It violates the Presidential Records Act. It clearly violates precedent as was established with Bill Clinton and the case with that judge about him, 17 audio recordings. By the way, top classified national security information requested by the National Archives. And he said, F off. You're not getting it. And the judge ruled he has every right. Those are his tapes. Those are his documents. So, in the face of all of this, I'm telling you, this is going to go ultimately to the Supreme Court. And unless the Supreme Court is compromised, if they rule by the law, by the Constitution, by the evidence, and by precedent, it's going to be laughed out of court. And Dane, one last thing, because I want to go back to you. Remember, this is Jack Smith we're talking about. This is a man who brought up the ridiculous Edwards indictment, John Edwards, and he was laughed at. He's the guy that brought the ridiculous indictment against the Virginia Republican governor, overturned 8-0 by the Supreme Court. 8-0. In fact, they chastised him and said, your conduct is unethical and unprofessional. It is prosecutorial abuse of power. So this guy loves to make up legal theories. That's why he was picked by Merrick Garland. And he loves to go after the Democrats as political opponents. He's not a lawyer. He's a legal assassin. That's all this guy is, who makes stuff up as he goes along. So he's going to try to shoehorn the Espionage Act over what? Who did Trump spy with? Who did he give the classified information to? There's nothing in the 49-page indictment that comes anywhere close to that. Like, this is Russia collusion all over again. It's a pile of horse crap. And I believe the judge, the Southern District of Florida, the jury is going to shoot it down. If they're going to lose, the Biden regime will lose on appeal, and they will get destroyed at the Supreme Court. That's just my opinion, but I look at this, and this is beyond laughable. Dane, what say you?
God forbid that this demonic deep state gets their way. If they do, and God forbid, I pray they don't, they will destroy the United States of America and the Constitution. That's what I have to say.
Amen. Amen. Look, the deep state now has to be stopped. This indictment of Trump, I'll tell you what it is in one line. It is the deep state versus democracy. They want to overturn our constitutional democracy. That's what this is now all about. And so, which side are you on? That now is the only question in American politics. Let's go to Arthur in Chestnut Hill. Thanks for holding, Arthur, and welcome.
Thanks, for taking my call, Jeff. You know, once you got the tapes, that's it. If there are tapes, then this is all over because he can't be impeached. I don't think Biden in his right mind would want a trial of any sort because a trial would involve his family. And even though he's probably one of the biggest lowlifes that ever existed in the history of our country, never mind politics, then he can't turn around because his family is going to have to be brought into it because they all got money. And it just ceases to amaze me that all these people in the government and all these American people who are there to serve this country, this great nation, are doing nothing. Now we know why the FBI is doing it, because their hands are dirty too. So they cover each other's ass. All right? And that's why they're protecting Biden. But he's beyond protection now. He can't be protected anymore. And he's going to have to, he's either going to have to resign or he's going to have to do the gentlemanly thing that used to exist in government when you were discovered to be a traitor. And I've considered one other point that I think I'm pretty accurate about. Someone like me who grew up in children's homes and foster homes and saw kids from dysfunctional families. Well, there could be no more dysfunctional family than
the Bidens. Oh, I agree. You look at Hunter Biden, you look at Ashley Biden, you look at the whole Biden clan. It's a sick, degenerate, dysfunctional crew. Okay, today is the day they're going to cross the Rubicon for the first time in our nation's history. A former sitting president and leading presidential candidate will now be indicted on federal charges. The Justice Department is now indicting former President Trump, 37 counts. It's ridiculous. 400 years in jail. If he's given the max on every single count, 400 years behind bars. literally mass murderers do not get 400 years in jail. But that's what they're now threatening President Trump. As I said throughout the entire show, and I'll say it again, who's the victim? Even if you assume the entire worst about the mishandling, so-called mishandling of classified documents. As I said, they're his documents. He can't mishandle them, but let that go. Who's the victim? It's like the Alvin Bragg case. Who did Trump hurt? No one. No one. In this case, who is the victim? And all of the documents were seized and retaken, reappropriated by the National Archives. They've got everything back. So again, where's the victim? Who's the victim? There isn't any. But this indictment of Trump, we are all the victims, because now a leading presidential candidate is going to be put in jail so that he cannot challenge the incumbent president. My friends, that's what we call a dictatorship. And that's what we are now on the cusp of becoming. I want to play it one more time. Listen now to Tulsi Gabbard, liberal, lifelong Democrat, civil liberties champion, saying if this indictment, it becomes a conviction, if Trump is found guilty in any way, shape, or form, this is the end of American democracy as we know it. Roll cut 27. Mike.
We are here today facing an unprecedented moment where a sitting president of the United States has taken action abusing his power to direct the federal government and justice system to be used against his major political opponent, charging him with multiple crimes. This is not something that should happen in the United States of America. And it could be the final nail in the coffin of our democracy.
Bingo. Bingo. That's what's at stake. So let me ask you, what do you think will happen today? Will there be massive protests? Should there be massive protests? And why are the Republicans, the leadership anyway, so reluctant, so unwilling to take the fight to Biden, Garland, and the corrupt Department of Justice? Have you lost all confidence in the rule of law and the Department of Justice, and frankly now in the Biden regime? Are you shocked at how far Biden is willing to go to destroy democracy and the Constitution in order to get Trump? 617-266-6868. Okay, he's back. You're kidding me. He's back. Is this Ben in North Andover? Is that you?
Hey, Jeff. How are you?
Ben, I thought I told you not to call the show anymore.
Well, I had a question about this. If you're going to continue to use my name on the air, then I'm going to keep calling in.
Well, I'll tell you what. This is what I'm going to do, Ben. If you promise to behave and stop being a pathetic little troll and try to say something intelligent, you know what? I will give you because we conservatives are nice. We conservatives are forgiving. We're not totalitarian thugs. I will give you a second chance. So what is your point, Ben? Go ahead.
Jeff, how about the tapes of Donald Trump saying that he had military secrets that he could have declassified when he was president, but he didn't, and now that he's not president, he knows that he never declassified some of that information. What do you think about that? If they use those tapes, that means he didn't declassify all that information.
Well, if you heard my opening monologue, I'll say it again. According to Article 2 of the Constitution, the Presidential Records Act, and precedent in that huge case involving Bill Clinton, he didn't declassify the 17 audio recordings. He had highly secret, classified in fact, military intelligence that he discussed with a journalist, and he openly states, I never declassified, I just brought it with me, they're mine. So he has the right to take any document with him. They're his private records. Remember, you classify things to the benefit of the president, to the discretion of the president. He is the only one who has access to see everything. It is other people that you have to go through a declassification process, not the president. Now, as for the actual tape and as for the actual conversation, I don't think you want to go there, Ben. If you want to go there, I'm happy to go there because I think it really blows up the entire narrative. So do you want to go there? Yes or no?
Are you saying that a president can just stand over a box at anything and say it's all declassified? He doesn't have to go through a process?
Well, I'll again, it's, this is why I was reluctant to put you back on. I'll explain it to you one more time, and I will get to this so-called bombshell recording. I'll come back with Ben next. Jeff Kuhner, increasingly now the voice of the resistance. Okay, our democracy now hanging by a thread. Today, the Dems will try to cross the Rubicon in the federal indictment of Trump. My prediction, they will or should be laughed out of court. Let's go back to Ben in North Andover. So, Ben, you're talking about now the so-called recording that Jack Smith cites in his, frankly, it's a joke of an indictment, his 49-page indictment. So, this is why I think liberals are making a huge mistake. Mark Milley, General Milley, gave an interview to Bob Woodward. And in that interview, it was Milley who revealed classified information about a planned attack on Iran. So Milley violated classification. If anyone should be going to jail, it's Milley. He had no right to reveal what he revealed to Bob Woodward. He had no right to divulge and leak it, but he did. And in that interview with Woodward, he lied, and he said that Trump wanted to invade Iran. And Milley said, and I stopped him. I stopped him. My God, the madman. He would have had us at war with the mullahs. In fact, the very opposite happened. It was Milley who wanted to invade Iran. It was Milley who was trying to pressure Trump and his administration to launch a military or a series of military strikes on Iran. And the buffoon wanted to launch an invasion or a war against Iran with only 20,000 U.S. troops. Iraq, 23 million. Population, Iran, 70 million. Trump looked at him and said, are you effing crazy? A, we're not going to war with Iran. And B, if we ever do go to war with Iran, if we needed 500,000 to take on Iraq, you think we're going to take on Iran with 20,000? So, the reporter asked Trump about the Milley interview. Trump pulled out the paper. We don't know if he showed anyone anything. We don't know the full context, but he rolled out the paper and said, no, here's Milley's invasion plan. Here it is. Milley wanted to go to war with Iran. I didn't. Milley is a liar. And on top of that, he's a leaker. He did not have the authority or the right to even discuss it with Bob Woodward. So here it is. Here's the proof. Milley wanted war with Iran. I said no. Here is their disastrous invasion plan. Now, as to your larger point, why did Trump show the document? It's his document. According to Article 2 of the Constitution, the chief executive has full executive power vested in him or her, according to the Presidential Records Act, and then followed by the historic ruling by a district judge 10 years ago regarding Bill Clinton. 17 audio recordings. I need you to follow me now, Ben. The judge ruled, per Article 2, per the Presidential Records Act, that a president can take any document he or she wishes with them, and they're his, whether they're classified, confidential, unclassified, top secret, it doesn't matter. Bill Clinton had him. He had him in his sock drawer. He gave an interview and recorded the interview with this journalist in which he openly talked about national defense, military security, all kinds of classified information. And the judge said they're akin to his private papers. They're his. He can take them where he wants. He can show them to whoever he wants. He can do with them whatever he wants. So, in answer to your question, the President of the United States, regarding so-called classified documents within his administration, can take box after box after box, if he or she wishes, and put them in a whatever, in his residence or storage locker or whatever, and it is perfectly legal. Bill Clinton has done it. George Bush has done it. Jimmy Carter has done it. In fact, Barack Obama has over 1,000 classified documents in a storage room in Chicago. So, if it's good enough for every other president, why isn't it good enough for Donald Trump? That's why this case is going to be laughed out of court.
Jeff, so are you saying that there is no process for declassifying information of the president? He can
No, I already explained that to you. Listen, look, Ben, this is why I don't have you on. Because I'm not kidding. I mean, I don't want to talk to a child. There is a declassification process, but it is for everyone but the president. For example, a president gets a briefing every morning. They show him every classified document they have. Why? Because he's the president. You see, what you and the Democrats are now arguing, and this is a very dangerous argument, is you are saying the deep state trumps democracy. The deep state trumps our elected representatives. That the deep state can contain secrets that our elected representative cannot either challenge, expose, or take those documents with them. I'm arguing the exact opposite, but it doesn't matter. Article 2 gives that power to the president. So, when there's classified information, it is for the president of the United States. It is to benefit at the discretion of the president. That's why it's inherently classified. Only the president can see it. And then a decision is made, who else can see it? And if you want to declassify, there is then a process, but that applies to everyone except the president. Have I made myself crystal clear now?
I bet you $1,000 president's lawyers do not bring that up in court.
Well, they should. I don't care whether they do or they don't. In fact, we'll see.
They don't.
But it doesn't matter whether they do or they don't. Look, again, you're just playing semantics. First of all, he should fire his legal team because the FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago was ipso facto illegal. It's like raiding my house for my magazines and my newspapers. Those are the president's personal documents. Now, a judge has already ruled on this. It is now precedent. So, if Bill Clinton can have all of these audio tapes with all of that classified information, then Trump can't. So, Bill can put it in a sock drawer. Obama can put it in a storage room. But no, Trump can't. So, no. And I come to my ultimate point. Okay? I know it's hard for Ben, but we're going to try to educate some liberals today. Where's the espionage? Notice in the 49-page indictment, I don't want to get caught up in the legal weeds, the Presidential Records Act, which is remarkable, is not mentioned even once. Not even once. What are you the whole dispute is over the Presidential Records Act. So they're trying now to make it seem, he's a spy. Well, who did he spy with? Who did he hand a Show me what espionage agency, what intelligence agency, what foreign power, what foreign country, who did he hand suddenly our secrets to? And final point. Why don't we get to know Milley's invasion plan? This is what I understand. It's classified. No, it shouldn't be classified. We have a right to know. It's our government. We have a right to know whether that lunatic, that fat slob, that woke loser wanted to take us to Iran, war with Iran. How come the deep state gets to cover their rear end all the time? He leaks illegally to a journalist claiming Trump, he lies, Trump wants to go to war with Iran. I stopped him. The documents prove the exact opposite. Milley wanted to go to war. Trump stopped him. Why now do they get to cover that up under quote-unquote classification? Under quote-unquote it's classified. No. 99.9% of all documents that the federal government says is classified should be unclassified. We, the American people, have the right to know what our government, what our generals, what the CIA, what the deep state is doing behind our backs. So, no, I say the exact opposite. Show the map of his attack plan. Let the American people know the bunch of crazy warmongers that are now part of our Joint Chiefs of Staff. They want us at war with Ukraine, with Russia, with Iran, with North Korea. They want us at war with everybody. The military-industrial complex fears sunlight because it's the best disinfectant. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, my friends, the country will never be the same again after today. We will now become like every other country in the world, or to be more accurate, like every other third world banana republic in the world, where former presidents, leading presidential rivals and opponents are now indicted by the party in power. What we are witnessing now is Joe Biden imposing a communist revolution, drip by drip by drip, and a dictatorship, a tyrannical police state. And as I said yesterday, and I will say it again, today it's Trump. Tomorrow it's you and me. Let me ask all of you. It is the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Kelly Financial Services. Do you believe the indictment against Trump hurts or helps Joe Biden? To me, I think it clearly hurts Joe Biden. But then that's me. Why? Because he's now weaponized the DOJ. He has now used the full force, the awesome power of the government's prosecutorial authority to target his leading political opponent. Already now, massive majorities of the American people say this is a political hit job. And already now, Biden's numbers, low as they are going even lower. He has been exposed now irrefutably as a political thug, a political gangster, and a wannabe dictator. But that's me. Will this indictment against Trump, does it ultimately hurt or help Biden? And do you now see him in a different way? I'm just curious. Yes, he was a senile buffoon. Yes, he was an incompetent disaster of a president. But now there's a sinister overtone. Now he's actually becoming a thug, an authoritarian wannabe dictator. I want to hear from you. Does it hurt Biden or help Biden? You can vote on our webpage, WRKO.com/Kuhner, WRKO.com/Kuhner. Kuhn as in Nancy ER. You can also vote via Twitter. Our handle there at the Kuhner Report. Kuhner, all of it one word, at the Kuhner Report. Lines are loaded. Chris in Gloucester. Thanks for holding, Chris, and welcome.
Well, this is like the best day in our country since Biden took his inauguration. It's a great day for America. We're finally holding this guy accountable. I want to talk with the president. The difference with Clinton's tapes was that he generated those tapes. They were not a government-generated document. They were audio tapes from a book he was making. That is the singular difference, and you'll see that play out. That's the difference.
No, that's a lie.
No, he did generate what was the lie?
The lie is he was using classified documents. Relax. He's using classified documents, material that he had, and he was doing a recording with a journalist. So the issue was, did he have the right to have those documents? And the issue was yes, under not just the Presidential Records Act, but under Article 2 of the Constitution. The President of the United States has the right to take any record with him, whether it's classified or not classified. What you are trying to argue, and what that lunatic Jack Smith is trying to argue, is that the deep state has more power than the president, that the deep state has more power than the elected representatives of the American people. And they don't. And the ultimate question that you have to ask yourself, because you suffer from Trump derangement syndrome. Anybody that goes on about how great Joe Biden is as a president, frankly, is not right in the head. So clearly, that's why I call you Chris the Commie. You're not right in the head. But I'll ask you this. Who was hurt? Where's the victim? Where's the victim? In Trump having these so-called classified documents, where's the victim? Show me the victim.
And actually, there was an uptick in deaths and missing CIA people since Trump was in the office. And it's not the first time.
No, there's no evidence of that. That's a lie.
Okay.
That's an absolute lie. No, you're lying. Stop it. You're lying. Now, where's the victim? He has these documents. Who's hurt by it? Show me a victim.
Irrelevant.
What do you mean it's irrelevant? It's perfectly relevant.
No, it's not.
No, yes, it is. Of course. For there to be a crime, there has to be a victim. So where's the victim?
You're just making it's completely irrelevant.
You want to say it's irrelevant because you don't want to deal with the anger, with the argument. No, look, listen to me. No. You want to send the leading presidential opponent of Biden in jail. Now, if there's bribery, if there's murder, if there's rape, if there's pay to play, if there's treason, okay, that's something else. In other words, what Biden has been caught doing regarding Burisma and the FBI bribery document, that's something else. But having documents in Mar-a-Lago, how has this hurt anyone? Show me one victim. Go.
Lives at risk.
Which lives are at risk?
How would we know? Hey, now I know why you have your wife on the radio, because she proves that you're not the least intelligent person in your family.
Yeah, now you got to insult my wife? Boy, you're a real loser, man. You are such a pathetic loser. I ask you to explain your position and give me one basic fact. Okay, your wife, you're not the least intelligent person in your family. There you go. That's a liberal for you. See? There you go. Who's the victim? Okay, he's got these so-called classified documents. Who's hurt by it? Where's the victim? Who's been hurt? What's the wrong? What happened? Nothing happened. So what justifies putting a president, or in this case, a leading presidential opponent, behind bars? You're stupid and your wife is even stupider. I'm a liberal. That's the problem. I'm telling you, that's the sickness. They are blinded by their hatred. Blinded. And you want to destroy this republic over this? Really, over this? As Nancy Mace put it, 400 years in prison, okay? He'll probably get 20, 25 if he's convicted on these counts. A man at 76, that's a death sentence. He's not going to live past 100. So as Nancy Mace put it, Congresswoman Mace, a death sentence for documents? For documents. You're going to kill a man for documents. You're going to imprison a leading presidential opponent. You're going to destroy our democracy over documents? So who was hurt? What big betrayal happened? What document ended up with China or Russia or Iran, or what great secrets were violated? Nothing. Nothing. Now, let me tell you why this is happening. Because Trump declassified Crossfire Hurricane. I said it before and I'll say it again. The documents that prove the crimes of Obama, Biden, Comey, Brennan, Clapper, the entire regime. That they unfairly framed Trump as an agent of Russia, and they knew that it came from Hillary. They knew it was a lie, and they illegally spied on him and his presidency. And so they had to retrieve those documents. Look at the search warrant. That's another reason why I think this case is going to get destroyed. The search warrant was overly broad. They took everything. They even took his passports. They took his clothes. They took books. They took everything. Now, one other point. Much of this indictment rests on piercing, destroying attorney-client privilege. I'm sorry, I don't want to get into the weeds, but this is a legal indictment. So, one of the aspects of this entire case is that Jack Smith got some corrupt judge in Washington, even though the case is going to be in southern Florida. But he went to a corrupt judge in Washington because he knew this wouldn't fly in southern Florida. So he gets a corrupt judge in Florida to pierce attorney-client privilege and to order Evan Corcoran, who's one of Trump's lawyers, hand over all of your notes. Hand them all over. Hand them all over. So he literally pierced attorney-client privilege. Now, why Corcoran agreed to it is beyond me. Okay, Corcoran to me is an embarrassment. You fight for your client, you defend your client, you defend the Constitution, and you stand up to them. You're going to put the president's lawyer in jail? Are you serious? Send me to jail. I dare you. I dare you. But instead, Corcoran folded like a cheap tent. Okay, you want to talk? Okay. By the way, who takes handwritten notes when they're talking with their client? Like, what kind of a lawyer even does that? Okay, but fire his legal team. I've been saying this for a long time. Get better lawyers, okay? But let that go. Let that go. They literally pierced, they destroyed attorney-client privilege in order to try to get handwritten notes by his lawyer to try to go after Trump. Now, I'm telling you, on those grounds alone, just procedural grounds, they're going to kick this case out of court. So all of these dumb moonbats don't understand fundamental sacred norms. The First Amendment, Article 2 of the Constitution, the Presidential Records Act, attorney-client privilege. All of that is being destroyed in this desperate witch hunt, this wild, desperate attempt to get Trump at any and all costs. And this is the ultimate argument. If he's as bad as you say, and Biden is as great as you say, let the voters decide. Let them be the ultimate judge and jury. Let them decide what they think about him having the documents in Mar-a-Lago. Let them decide if he's fit to be president again. But you don't want the voters to decide, because you can see the polls like everyone else. Biden is going down and Trump is going to win. So now it's put them behind bars. And that, my friends, is what they do in Russia. It's what they do in Venezuela. It's what they do in Turkey. It's what they do in every third world authoritarian regime. And I've got news for all of you dumb liberals out there. You wield the bat now. You control the DOJ now. But you won't forever. And if you think you will, you're crazy. Or you're totalitarian. It's going to come back to you. What's sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. And I'm telling you, you're going to start to see Democrats be put in jail. And they're going to be taken off the campaign and put behind bars. And that's what's happened in every other third world banana republic. It's a descent. And that's what you've now launched, a descent. So, I hope you're happy. Be giddy. But I'm telling you, you're going to have a massive hangover. And the price now that you are going to inflict on this country will be immense. And I'm telling you, God will never forgive you. History will never forgive you. Our founding fathers are rolling in their grave. You don't like Trump, you vote against him. But what you don't do is criminalize political differences. You don't weaponize the government, the DOJ, and the legal system to take out your political opponents. And you go on about Putin? Look at yourself in the mirror. You're no better and no different than Putin. 617-266-6868. And by the way, for you to insult my wife, Chris, let me tell you to your face, F off. You pathetic loser, you. Dave in Revere. Thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome.
Jeff.
Hi,
Jeff,
Dave.
we both know one thing. You cannot argue with stupid, because stupid has no sense, period. Let's get right to it, Jeff. McCarthy should have been kicked out the day when he made that deal with Biden. And also, with all this stuff they're trying to pull on Donald Trump right now, espionage, sabotage, like you said, Jeff, he didn't do nothing. It didn't hurt nobody. So to make it up, all these bull, whatever you want to go with it, charges to keep him from doing the right thing, which he's trying to do again, and they don't want him in because the Democrats, Biden, he wants his way to just make this country a total disaster and make it worse than what it is now. So how can they legally put him behind bars when he never did anything? It makes no sense, Jeff.
Oh, you're completely right. No, Dave, look, I keep going over and over with this point, and it just drives liberals insane. But you kind of touched on it as well. Okay, take these documents in Mar-a-Lago. Who did he hurt? Who's been hurt? How has it hurt our country? I mean, Espionage Act. By the way, the Espionage Act is despicable. The history of the Espionage Act, that liberals are now relying on the Espionage Act, that was literally used to send opponents or people who criticized World War I into jail. It's one of the most, I think it's an unconstitutional act, to be honest. That and the Sedition Act. I think it should be gotten rid of, but let that go. That literally was used to put opponents of World War I, critics of World War I, in prison. It blatantly violates the First Amendment. It's a shameful part of our history. I used to teach it as a history professor, but let that go. Who is he sharing secrets with? What spying did Trump commit? What, he's spying on himself? Like, think about how stupid this is. So, did he give this to the mullahs in Iran? Did he have, I don't know, is he giving stuff to, Hunter and Joe Biden? Is he compromised by communist China? All of this is make-believe. they're citing this and citing that and this document here and this document there. And you're looking at this and you're like, you haven't shown me a shred of evidence that one piece of classified information made its way to a spy, to a foreign government, to a foreign power, or has hurt the United States in any way, shape, or form. Like, nothing. So this is the deep state essentially saying, we decide who's president, and we decide who's not president. So, in other words, they're telling us we run this country, not you, the American people. Dave, I don't know about you. I don't want to live in this kind of country. Who does?
No, I'll go right behind you.
Dave, do you believe there's going to be a lot of protests today? A lot of people are worried. It's going to be a zoo down there in Miami. They said there's going to be massive security, but they're saying you're looking at hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people potentially descending, massive protesters, both for and against Trump. Are you worried we could see violence later today?
Jeff, you never know which way it's going to turn. It's unpredictable. Hopefully there's no violence, but there should be a major protest against everything that Biden's trying to pull. Because, number one, he's never going to go to jail unless someone does something about it. And also, somebody might take Biden out for what he's doing. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I agree. No, I'm telling you, he's playing with fire. I mean, I'm not, please don't get me wrong. I never advocate violence, but you're dealing now with a traitor. I mean, this guy's a stone cold traitor. Stone cold traitor, Dave. And now that Grassley came out with even more information, they've got him on tape. They've got audio recordings. Holy mackerel. That's another reason why they have to indict Trump. They've got to take that explosive story about Biden and Burisma, and they got to blow it out of the news cycle. Deflect and distract. Thank you for that call, Dave. 617-266-6868. Willie in Charlestown. Thanks for holding, Willie, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Thanks for taking my call. I want to talk about that weasel from California, McCarthy.
Yes.
He's doing nothing. He's not impeaching Biden. The only one that really is speaking out against Biden to impeach him really is Marjorie Taylor Greene. She has more balls than McCarthy. And Biden is also trying to put Trump in jail for what Biden and his family are doing. They're traitors. They're no good.
I want to play a cut from Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I want to get your reaction, Willie. Roll cut 23, Mike.
Today, I'd like to announce that I'm writing an appropriations rider to defund Jack Smith's special counsel, his office, and the investigation. This is a weaponized government attempt to take down the top political enemy and leading presidential candidate of the United States, Donald J. Trump. We cannot allow the government to be weaponized for political purposes. I'd also like to ask all of my colleagues to join me in this effort. We have to use the power of appropriations to stop the weaponization of government, especially in light that we know that there are others who are guilty of true crimes. Never forget that former Secretary of State and Senator Hillary Clinton had classified documents on Anthony Weiner's laptop, who was convicted of sexting a minor, inappropriate pictures. This is not how classified documents should be handled. There should have been an investigation.
Willie, why is she making this argument, calling for Jack Smith to be defunded, talking about the hypocrisy regarding Hillary Clinton and all of the tens of thousands of classified documents that were on Anthony Weaver's laptop, Weiner's laptop, on her private server that she destroyed, even though they were subpoenaed? Why does she have the guts and McCarthy why isn't he making this speech, Willie?
Because McCarthy has no balls. Marjorie Taylor Greene.
She's got more cojones than McCarthy does. You can also text us 70470. This is from 781. Jeff, the left is convinced Trump is a criminal and he is evil, but they have no evidence. This is one great big psychological operation that has demonized Trump and anyone who supports him. The mere mention of his name to a Democrat gets a visceral reaction. Brainwashing works. Bingo. Bingo, bingo, bingo. This is from 202. Jeff, I think they raided Mar-a-Lago, the FBI, to retrieve proof of their own crimes. And I will bet Trump has copies of the most important and damning of them. Well, that's why they got to take him out. I mean, it's so obvious. This is now the deep state versus democracy. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Historic day. Trump will be indicted on 37 counts in Miami in a federal courthouse. From this point forward, we will never be the same again. Gibby in Medford. Thanks for holding, Gibby, and welcome.
Jeff. Hey, you know what? One of the things that nobody ever talks about, this is Obama and what's that guy's name? Ezekiel, the head of Democratic committee they go on these calls and nobody ever talks about this. This stuff is predetermined. It's discussed. This isn't Biden. He's not smart enough, Jeff. He really isn't. I don't understand, why we let these people get away with this stuff. I really don't.
I agree. I completely agree. And Gibby, look, a lot of people are emailing me, texting me saying, well, Jeff, I Googled the Presidential Records Act. Okay, well, I don't recommend Googling because, as we know, Google is liberal, very liberal, but let that go. And they go, well, the Presidential Records Act states that the documents do not belong to the president, but they belong to the United States government. Okay, that's false. They're deliberately misreading the Presidential Records Act. But let that go. Who is the United States government? Who's the United States government? We are. They work for us. We're the government. So what they're trying to tell us is the CIA is the government. The FBI is the government. The intelligence community, the Department of Justice, they are the permanent government, the shadow government, that they really control us, that we don't control them. So I'm like, no, the elected representative of the American people is the president of the United States. And so, as has been established over and over and over again, if he wants to take documents with him, classified, top secret, whatever, confidential, he has every right. Why? Because the documents belong to the government. He is the elected representative of the American people. We are the government. What they're trying to do, Gibby, this is what I find frightening. About 3 million federal bureaucrats, about 3 million federal employees have access to classified information. Less than 1% of the American people. Okay? They're trying to tell us that there's now like a ruling elite. These 3 million can know all of our secrets, but we, the voter, can't. You can't. I can't. So they can know the truth about Mark Milley. They can know that fat slob and that woke loser wanted to invade and bomb Iran, but tried to pin it on Trump lying to Bob Woodward, but we can't find out about it? So they get to have access and know all of our classified secrets, but we don't? And the reason why they want it like this, Gibby, is because that's where they commit their crimes and their abuses of power. In the dark. Secrecy is the essence of the swamp. Secrecy is the essence of the Washington cartel. The only way they can continue this is if they operate in darkness and operate in secrecy. No. Open up everything. Open up everything. That's why I'm a big supporter of Julian Assange, of Edward Snowden, of the FBI and IRS whistleblowers. Let the American people see what our government has really become. Okay, my friends, the storm is here. I was just talking to Sandy as we were off air. Ho, the hate mail I'm getting today. Whoa. It's been getting really bad, I got to say, the last couple of weeks. I mean, I've always had a lot of hate mail. Please don't get me wrong. But it's vicious. I mean, really vicious. And you can see now, the liberals know they're all in. They've got to get Trump now. They've broken every norm. They have violated every precedent. They know exactly now what they have done. And if they don't get him, then they know they're toast. This will blow up in their face. So they fear him. They know he may come back to power. They see the polls. They see what's not just the primary, head to head with Biden. They know Biden is a wounded president and that he's starting to really unravel in front of our eyes. And these disclosures about Ukraine and Burisma are getting more damning by the day. So they realize right now, if they don't jail Trump, if they don't put him behind bars, it's all going to come crashing down. And what Trump has vowed, he has now vowed two things. And please, whatever you're doing, you need to listen to this. Because this now explains the sound, the fury, the intensity against Trump. One, he now has come out and said, if he wins in 2024 and comes back to the White House, he will have a special counsel investigate Joe Biden and the Biden criminal family, and he will give the special counsel full power and authority, and including the DOJ, to charge Biden, Hunter Biden, and send them to prison for a very, very long time. In other words, you try to do it to me, you've established this precedent. If I win, the Bidens, including Joe Biden, are going to go to jail. And I'm going to make sure that this leads to Obama and everybody else. They're going to be implicated as well. So he's now put the entire criminal cabal on notice. You're going to be unmasked. You're going to be exposed. And many of you this time, you're going behind bars. Number two, he says he will now completely expose the entire deep state. All of their secrecy, all of their abuses, everything that they've been doing. And he is going to obliterate them, dismantle them, and smash them to pieces. What John F. Kennedy vowed to do, and eventually what got him killed. So he's now thrown down the gauntlet. Either democracy wins or the deep state wins. Listen now to President Trump. It was on WABC up in New York, and he says, please, in Miami today, I need for you to go out and protest peacefully. Peacefully. But we have to now show the Democrats and the deep state. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We know what's at stake, and we stand with the people, with democracy, with Trump. Roll cut one, Mike.
I do. We need strength in our country now. Our country is being taken away from us. Our country is going communist. It's going Marxist. It's going really bad. And the people of our country aren't that way, but the people running it are. and we need strength at this point. And everyone's afraid to do anything. They're afraid to talk. And they have to go out and they have to protest peacefully.
Now, he reiterated again, look at the disaster in Afghanistan. Look at the crisis at our southern border. Look at everything now the Biden regime is doing. Going after the January 6ers, spying on conservatives, muzzling conservatives, infiltrating Catholic churches, now talking about locking up political opponents. If we don't stand up now, when will we stand up? Listen to Trump saying we have to protest. Again, peacefully, civilly, but protest we must. Roll cut 2, Mike.
Our country has to protest. We have plenty of to protest. We've lost respect all over the world. They want to double and triple your taxes. Look at what they want to do to your taxes. These crazy people want to make your taxes so high you're not going to be able to live.
He's completely right. He is completely right. So my question to you, do you anticipate massive protests in Miami today? And do you fear that, like we're now finding out about January 6th, that the FBI will send undercover agents in order to infiltrate the protesters and try to start or incite a riot? Do you fear violence today in Miami? 617-266-6868. Lines are jammed. Russ in Boston. Thanks for holding, Russ, and welcome.
Jeff, first of all, I want to thank you, Sandy, and all of your team for the research that you do presenting the truth. And here in Kuhner country, you will hear nothing but the truth, and we need the truth. You know, Republicans who are afraid to speak up are cowards who fear the deep state. You ask, what can we do? Massachusetts patriotic conservatives have no representation in Washington, D.C. The only way a Republican can win here in Massachusetts, a statewide office, you must be a rhino or go against a weak candidate. Now, Charlie Baker would not have become governor if Steve Grossman was a candidate nominated by the Democrats. There's no question Charlie would not have won. Now, the goal of the deep state: create division, maintain control through deception. Now, you ask, what will happen today? Jeff, my answer is, who the hell knows? Truth, justice, and the American way has been derailed by the deep state. And I want to say this to the callers who call and give you crap. What these people don't understand is people may think that they're ignorant, but as soon as they open their mouth, they remove all doubt and they prove that they are ignorant. They've been exposed. Now, here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, okay, you know, you can watch the news. Now, the day that he was indicted last week, you know, I record Channel 5 News only for one reason, is I want to see the weather report. And I fast forward to the weather report. But I did watch. Now, remember now, that broadcast is only really about 22 minutes. The rest of it is advertising, okay? Now, they spent somewhere between 5 and 8 minutes, all right? All they kept saying, Trump's been indicted, Trump's been indicted, Trump's been indicted. The people do not hear the rest of the story. The whole thing is here in Kuhner country, we hear the whole story. We hear the truth. What the people are not hearing is the total story. And that's why voters in Massachusetts are misled. And that's why they continue to be brainwashed. And it is amazing. You have people who listen to this show and you cannot unbrainwash them. It's virtually impossible. Now, of course, I'm talking about the stupid liberals that make jackasses out of themselves. Jeff, honest to God, and you know I've said this before, I think the only saving grace is World War III. Millions of people are going to have to die, but people will go back to church and people will appreciate the government. And if they drop an atomic bomb and kill a lot of these leaders that we have in Washington, maybe those that'll be left will turn the country back to what it once was.
Russ, thank you so much for your call. As always, thank you. Look, I mean, well, they want World War III in Ukraine. I'll tell you this. Oh, they're itching for a war with Russia. and Trump exposed Milley for wanting a war with Iran. So we have warmongers and lunatics who are now running our country. There's no question. Donald in Arlington. Thanks for holding, Donald, and welcome.
Jeff, good morning.
Hi, Donald.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you for picking me. And I am a Trump loyalist. And I owe it to my oldest brother. I'm the youngest out of four. And I owe it to him because he brought up your name, and I listen to your show every day now. I am hooked on Rob Schmidt. I love Newsmax. Trump, Jack Hagg is garbage. They don't got nothing on Trump. Okay? Biden is corrupt. Okay? And I hear you, that jackass, insult your wife. I want to apologize for that.
No, there's no need. Donald, do me a favor. I'm up against a hard break. We're going to continue with Donald. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, President Trump now calling for peaceful protests, obviously, but mass protests, saying that it's now time to stand up to the regime before it's too late. As he put it, these are Democrat communists who now want to impose clearly dictatorial authoritarian rule over the American people. They now want to destroy our democracy and determine who we can or can't elect as president. Let's go right back to Donald in Arlington. Donald, you're very confident. You believe in the end Trump will be vindicated and all of this indictment, these charges against him, will collapse in court, correct?
Absolutely, I agree with you, Jeff. 110%. I was born in 78. Thank God I was educated, not indoctrinated. The economy was the best under Trump. And thank God for you. You know what I mean? Trump is the greatest president that we ever had. And Biden is the most corrupt. And it goes down the line. Like, I already know, like you said, he's going to obliterate the deep state. I agree with along the lines with you, Edwin Snowden and Edwin Snowden and Julian Assange. It's like, it's corruption at its finest, highest level. And I call these people that are trying to, we the people should decide. I call them libtards. Liberals, you call them. They're libtards. They're going to destroy this country. No. We the people are going to decide if Trump.
Well, I think, Donald, I think you put your finger right on it. I can just tell by the emails I get, the text messages I get, the way people are reaching out to me. The silent majority is silent no more. By this indictment, they have really awakened a sleeping giant. And now the American people are awake. They know what's going on. And that's why I'm saying the storm has arrived. And the Democrats know if they don't knock him out now, if they don't put him in jail and imprison him now, there's a reckoning. Trump is going to win. He's going to win in a massive victory. And a lot of people are going to start going to jail. And their crimes, their abuses of power, all of their scandals are going to be fully unmasked. And that's what they fear. They fear Trump the way the vampire fears garlic. They know it's their doom. Trump is their doom. And that's why now they must stop him at all costs. Donald, thank you so much for that call. 617. And that's why this indictment is so pathetic. As I told you, again, just, I'm telling you what many legal experts are saying. I mean, it's like saying the sky is blue. This is about the Presidential Records Act. And up until Trump, every president, you haggle with the National Archives. I want to keep this. Well, you want this. I'll make a copy of this. You can get this, but I want to keep this. I really need this. So, and whatever disagreements there are, and there's always disagreements, because as I said, they're the president's personal records. The president has the right to take classified documents with him. He just does. So, according to Article 2 of the Constitution, it's crystal clear. So, they go back and forth. Now, whatever problems there are, it goes to civil court. And they haggle it out, and then a judge says, hey, look, come on, would it really kill you to give that memorandum back? Okay, can you make a copy of it? So how about you keep a copy of it, but the archives can keep the original? Or you keep the original, and the archives can get a copy. Okay, you took the document with you. They'd like to have at least a copy of it, you know, for historians or for people to do research in the future. Okay, so... okay, and it goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Whatever disagreements, it's always settled either by the lawyers or, in worse, civil court. To raid his home, and now a criminal federal indictment over freaking documents? Are you insane? That shows you how desperate and pathetic they are. Now, when we go after Biden, we're not going after, oh, this document, bookkeeping. Oh, it was a hush payment, but it wasn't a hush payment. It was a campaign contribution. We're going to tie it to campaign finance. Like, what? What are you talking about? $5 million. $5 million to Biden. $5 million to Hunter. This is what you're going to do for us. Pay to play, bribery, treason. Bang, bang, bang. Okay? When we go after somebody, they're for serious, substantive, real crimes. Serious crimes. Not this bull crap. You know what I really want to say, but I can't say it. You know this BS. Not this BS. That's why they're in a panic. That's why they're trying to get him on jaywalking. They're trying and trying and trying and trying and blow up jaywalking into an existential threat to the country. 400 years in jail. That's why the country's looking at this and saying, nah. Now, very, very quick. Julian Assange, Edward Snowden. Okay, and by the way, FBI whistleblowers, IRS whistleblowers, they're all being targeted. And they always say, oh, but they divulged classified information. For that, we must destroy them. What did Edward Snowden reveal? Our own government, the Obama regime, was illegally spying on millions of Americans. Your calls, my calls, they're listening in for no reason, except to see what our opinions are about Obama. And are we opponents of Obama? And what are our political views? And can we be trusted and can we not be trusted? In other words, Snowden was shocked. He goes, oh my God, this is like the Stasi. This is like the Gestapo. The American government is spying on its own citizens. Julian Assange, what did he expose? The crimes of Hillary Clinton, the crimes of the Clinton Foundation. He's like, oh my God, a Secretary of State, she sold out the United States for $500 million through the Clinton Foundation. 20% uranium to the Russians to start with. Okay, never mind other. China is always the big one. And he's like, OMG. This is what our government is doing in the shadows? In secret, behind closed doors? So they use classified, quote unquote, in order to go after anybody that exposes their secrets and their crimes. But notice the hypocrisy. How many times do they leak classified information to journalists if they want to target someone or destroy someone? Or if they want to selectively go after someone, then, even though it's a crime, no one's ever held accountable. Here, I go back to Mark Milley. Okay? That's the heart of this 49-page document indictment. Mark Milley gives an interview to Bob Woodward. He lies. He says Trump wanted to start a war with Iran. I, Mark Milley, the fat slob, I stopped him. It turns out, and that's why Trump showed, he was interviewed with a reporter and a publisher. He goes, that guy's a lying SOB. Here. I got the secret document. But here it is. I've got the map. He's the one that wanted to invade Iran. Here it is. His name is all over it. Here's his suggestion. Here's his proposal. And he's mocking Milley, and he's right. Milley wanted to invade Iran with 20,000 U.S. troops. Trump says this guy's nuts. So Milley leaks classified information to Bob Woodward. Nothing happens to Fatso. Nothing happens to that slob, to that parade general. Trump corrects the record, says he's lying. I just caught him in a lie. Now, why can't we know that Mark Milley's a liar? To me, forget that. They wanted to invade Iran. The generals were trying to pressure Trump to invade Iran after the disaster in Iraq with 20,000 U.S. troops. Are you kidding me? That's the issue. Who runs our government? Who runs our country? Is it the deep state? Is it the military-industrial complex? Is it these unelected bureaucrats and generals and power brokers behind the scene, the shadow government? Or is it us through our elected representatives? And what Trump is saying to his shock and horror, he goes, my God, there's a government behind the government. There's what's called a permanent national security state. And these guys can destroy anybody, anytime. And they go beyond the Constitution, beyond the rule of law. They commit abuse after abuse, scandal after scandal, and they're all enriching themselves. They're stealing our money. They're robbing us blind, and they're selling our country down the river. And they co-opt the media, who are basically their mouthpieces and their shills. And Trump is like, oh my God, man, hey, I'm just a patriot. Like, what? Whoa, what the hell has happened to the United States? We've become a mafia state. This is not what our founders wanted. This is not a democracy. It's a freaking dictatorship. That's why now he's in Miami. Because he's the only innocent guy there. He's the only one that defends us. He's the only one that has our back, our interests, our values. He's the only sheriff who says, I'm going to clean this whole thing up. And instead of confronting this reality, which is so obvious now, you have these liberals who have convinced themselves that he, you, me, we who believe in limited government, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, all of them, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of religion, political, economic freedom. We're the second coming of Adolf Hitler? Do you know how absolutely unhinged and deranged these people are? And according to them, we're the extremists? Yeah, I don't think so. Nah, I don't think so. And now the American people have caught on. So my advice to them, you better take Trump out because he's coming for you. And everybody now knows he's coming for you. For 4 years, he is going to rain hell on the deep state. And I say, God bless him. Philip in Pennsylvania. Thanks for holding, Philip, and welcome.
Jeffy!
Phil, how are you, my friend?
I'm all right, I guess. I got to ask you, Jeff,
everybody's relying on the court. But, how did all this get through a federal grand jury if it's not all corrupt? The courts are corrupt. The federal grand jury was corrupt. What's the penalty for bringing false charges in front of a federal grand jury?
That's a great point.
And what's the penalty to these people that allowed this indictment to go through? I don't see how we can rely on the courts when the courts are corrupt. I don't get it.
Philip, look, you ever see the movie, what was it? Oh, it was with Henry Fonda. I can't remember the name. Was it 12 Angry Men? Anyway, the jury was determined to convict an innocent person, and they were just wanted to get it over with. And one person kept asking for proof, for evidence, for the truth. And slowly but surely, that one person turned the tide and basically got the truth out and helped free an innocent man. Well, if there's one innocent judge, if there's one, honest judge who says, nah, this is a joke, absolute joke, the tide is going to turn. So I'm hoping that the judge in the case, Eileen Cannon, is an honest judge who goes by the law and the Constitution and the truth, the evidence. And I think it's going to go to the Supreme Court no matter what. And I'm telling you, this should be unanimous. Unanimous. This thing should be laughed out of court. This is the most ridiculous, pathetic, bullcrap indictment I have ever seen in my entire life. So it's Chief Justice John Roberts. He's compromised. I don't know what they're blackmailing him with. So we'll see. But no, you're right, Philip. Look, at this point, who knows? We're going to find out now just how corrupt our legal system is.
Jeff, I already know how corrupt it is. Look what happened in New York with that crazy white job that said that, Trump's civil case. The jury had it out for Trump. So how do you get a fair trial, and how does the judge, side with the jury?
Well, Philip, look, the reason why I'm a little bit more optimistic than you are, and look, Philip, you may be right, okay, Phil, you may turn out to be prophetic, and I've been wrong in the past, and I could be wrong again. This is Southern Florida. It's going to be a different jury pool. For example, in the area where the jury is going to be picked, in 2020, it went 50 Trump, 50 Biden. In 2022, it went more Republican than Democrat. So it's politically mixed. It's not like New York or Washington where it's hyper-partisan Democrats. And the judge has a good reputation. So it looks like it's a solid judge with a much more diverse jury pool. So we'll see. This is more like an American jury, unlike in New York or Washington, which they're all liberal Democrat hacks. So we'll see. But this is such a bad case. I mean, this is so pathetic on so many levels. Phil, I think just on procedural grounds, the search warrant, the FBI raid is a joke. The puncturing or the piercing of attorney-client privilege, I think it's going to get thrown out for so many reasons. Never mind the substantive stuff in the indictment. So, we'll see, Phil, but believe me, if Trump is convicted, we're done. Philip, I'm telling you, you and I don't know if it's New Zealand, I don't know if it's Switzerland, I don't know where you and I have to go, but you and I have to meet, and we got to find another country because it's over. That, as Tulsi Gabbard put it, that's the final nail in our democracy.
I'm going to stay and fight, Jeff. You can go wherever you want, but I'm going to stay and fight.
Well, I'm being sarcastic, Phil. Obviously I'm not going to leave. I'm going to stay as well. I'm just, I remember I said this to Howie when Obama won in 2012, and he was walking down the hallway, and I saw him. I said, Howie, I don't know. I'm thinking New Zealand looks pretty good right now. It's warm, and the kiwis apparently are delicious. So I'm just a little tongue in cheek, Phil. But no, I'm definitely going to stay. No, I mean, of course, I would never leave this country. Phil, thank you very, very much for that call. 617-266-6868 is the number. By the way, New Zealand is even worse than here. So, but anyway, but the lockdowns, oh my God, they were brutal. But anyway, I'm staying. I love this country no matter what. Just trying to be a little funny, lighten it up a little bit. 617-266-6868. Susan, speaking of Florida, in Florida. Thanks for holding, Susan, and welcome.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hi.
It's hot as heck down here right now.
That's good.
It's hot every day.
Hot is good.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's sunny. I golfed yesterday. It was hot, and I loved it. No one has asked this question, Jeff. If these documents that he had were so top secret, and let's not forget that NARA was the one that initiated and contacted the DOJ. Well, if these documents were so top secret, how did NARA know that they were missing them?
Oh, that's a very good point.
I mean,
NARA, Susan, just so everybody, the National Archives and Records Administration, the National Archives. No, you're right. How did they know? If they're so top secret, how did they know? Notice in the search warrant, many lawyers have made this point, legal experts, they don't cite what they're looking for. They don't cite, hey, we want this top secret document. We need this highly confidential document. It was a fishing expedition. It was just go in there, search and grab. Grab whatever you can find. Just grab.
So he did return the underwear, Melania's underwear, though, and his passport and his private papers. But that's a good thing because they didn't find any documents in her underwear. But the bottom line on this is this was to get the documents from the hurricane.
Crossfire hurricane?
Yep.
Oh, I think there's no question. No question.
And destroy them. They're going to destroy them.
Yeah. No, that was CYA. Cover your, you know what. No, that was to retrieve those documents that Trump took. He declassified. He really made a point to declassify. And that exposed all the crimes of Obama, Biden, Comey, Brennan, how they illegally framed him for Russia and then illegally spied on his campaign and his presidency. They turned that estate, that house upside down to get those documents.
Optimistic. Does Trump look worried to you? Would he be doing appearances in Georgia and where was it? Just South Carolina or North Carolina? Recently, I think it was North Carolina. Does he look worried to you? No.
Susan, he doesn't look worried. And the other thing is, listen to his voice. Look at his mannerisms. Look at his face. Listen to his voice. He talks and sounds like an innocent man. Like he's like, really, I'm innocent. I'm not guilty. I'm innocent. Like I know I'm being framed again. 2 impeachments, Russia collusion hoax, and now 2 indictments. Innocent. 617-266-6868 is the number. Lines are loaded. Steve in Braintree. Thanks for holding, Steve. And as always, welcome.
Thank you, Kuhner, man. How are you this morning? Hope
I'm
I sound a little
good.
better.
How are you, Steve?
Good. I'm good. I'm asking a question now. Ken Starr was the last independent counsel, and they got rid of that law because it was ruled unconstitutional because the president's authority over the executive branch is plenary, and he hires and fires at will. So now we have a special counsel statute who reports to the attorney general, who ultimately reports to the president. So there is no more independent counsel because, shocker of all shockers, the president is the government in terms of the executive branch. That's been the ruling in every case that's come up about presidential powers. Before Ken Starr was investigating Whitewater and the potential crimes of President Clinton, he went and got an Office of Legal Counsel opinion on whether a president could be charged while sitting in office. Everybody remembers that, right? They determined civil case can go forward, criminal case can't. Why didn't Jack Smith go and ask for such an opinion regarding charging a president under the these bizarre legal theories. I think I know why, because he would have gotten an honest opinion that he shouldn't do it. Does that make sense, Jeffrey?
Perfect sense. Logical,
Okay,
as usual, very rational, very coherent. Steve, I want to ask you, what do you make of the indictment itself?
Well, the problem is, and you know, people keep going to, you know, these records being in his possession. The problem is, when this case gets to the Supreme Court, it's going to be very simple. It's going to be, how did these records get into his possession? And it's going to be while he was president. And that's a non-justiciable issue. The Supreme Court can only interpret the laws. They can't set boundaries, or they can't make up a process for the president in terms of his executive branch authority. When he becomes president, every document produced, it doesn't matter how secret it is, it doesn't matter what it is his document. It's his administration's. He's the head. He controls. Let me give you an example, hypothetical. Say he got mad about Mark Milley going to the Washington, wherever the hell he went, and said what he said about the Iran deal. He was still president. He could literally go up on that podium, wave that document around, and tell reporters about it. Did he commit a crime? No, because he has authority over that document. Could he be impeached? Sure, you could make some reason to impeach him. And that's the real power that deep state has, that they'll impeach you now over nonsense. But, you know, if that situation had occurred while he was president, no crime committed. Nothing, no crime. He can do that. And the only reason the president writes a letter, because you know those Crossfire Hurricane letters, the only reason he wrote those letters is so that other people can disclose that information. His authority to disclose is plenary. He can do whatever he wants with those documents. It doesn't matter what the secret is. Every secret of the government, while he or she is president, becomes their secret to do with as they wish. And the Supreme Court is just going to make a very simple decision. We have no authority to restrict the power of the president. If he had taken these documents after he was president, fine, no problem. He started as a private citizen. He obtained these documents while he was president. That's why the Clinton decision was the correct. I mean, Amy Berman Jackson, before she got Trump derangement syndrome, she was 100% correct in that call. He can do with those records what
Steve,
he wishes.
just for the audience, just 2 quick points. When you say, just for clarification, because you're a lawyer and you're great, don't get me wrong, but just so they understand all the legal terms. When you say plenary power, you mean like full power, right? All that power rests within the president. And the Clinton case is the recordings. Clinton had the 17 audio recordings where, you know, he's got documents. He's talking about classified documents, top secret documents, confidential documents. And he's talking to a journalist and he's exposing all of it. And when the National Archives or others say, we want it back, he said, no, screw you. They're mine. And he literally put them in a sock drawer. And Judge Amy Berman Jackson said, yeah, they're his documents. I mean, am I summing it up correctly?
It wasn't even the National Archives. It was Judicial Watch.
Oh, you're right. That's right. Judicial Watch.
So
Forgive me.
They wanted to do a FOIA. They wanted to do a FOIA, and you cannot FOIA the presidential records. You can only FOIA the government agency. You don't FOIA presidential records once he takes them. So they wanted access to those. They didn't get them. And it was 17 recordings. He talked about phone calls he had with foreign leaders about stuff. So, you know, that's going to be the problem for this prosecution, is that these documents, regardless of what you think about them, whether you should have had them, shouldn't have had them, it's all going to be irrelevant, because what does the Supreme Court say? Oh, no, the president has to write a letter. Well, where'd you get that from? No, the president has to stand up and officially declare it. Well, where'd you get that from? Like, they can't do that. That's the problem. And Amy Berman Jackson was right. They don't have the ability to do that. And Congress cannot restrict Article 2 powers. Just the same way that the president can't force Congress to spend money. The whole thing is just insanity. That's why he didn't get an Office of Legal Counsel opinion, because it would have told him you're insane. This is stupid.
Steve, we've got 1 minute. 1 minute left. Article 2. I argued that in my opening monologue. I've looked at a lot of legal experts who are saying what you're saying, that he has authority under Article 2, which as if plenary gives him full power as chief executive. He could take those documents to Mar-a-Lago and there's nothing they can do about it. Correct?
I mean, that's my interpretation. I don't know how the Supreme Court comes up with anything else, because there's no authority anywhere in the Constitution for the court to set a standard. And when they can't set a standard, they say the issue's non-justiciable and we can't rule. We can't rule. We can't restrict it. There's nothing in the Constitution that lets us do this. So it's within his authority to do it. I just don't see where they come up with a plan, a scheme, anything like that. That's why when issues come up about congressional authority, they don't tell Congress what to do. They simply can't. They can tell them you violated the Constitution in this case, but they can't set out a procedure for them. It's it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
I agree. That's why I think it's going to be shot down. That's my prediction. Steve, phenomenal call. Best audience in the business. 617-266-6868. And by the way, Steve is completely right. That's why he didn't ask for an opinion, because Jack Smith would have been told, loco, you're crazy. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, my friends, as this is going on in Miami today, and don't get me wrong, this is the biggest story in the world. I mean, it's not even close. There is another story that, if it was properly covered, would easily supplant the Trump indictment story. And that is now the bombshell revelations about the corruption of Joe Biden and his degenerate son Hunter, and frankly, the entire Biden crime family. So as we know, there is now a smoking gun FBI document, unclassified, that now proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that a top Burisma executive, it's almost certain to be Zlochevsky, who is the number one Ukrainian oligarch. He owns Burisma. He is the power and the money behind Zelensky. He's the most powerful oligarch in all of Ukraine. Zlochevsky spoke with an FBI confidential informant in which he admitted that he gave $5 million to Joe Biden and $5 million as vice president, and then $5 million to Hunter Biden and put him on the board in order to get direct favors and policy changes regarding Ukraine. The big one, the firing of Ukraine's prosecutor, Viktor Shokin, who was investigating Burisma. And as you know, Biden withheld $1 billion from Ukraine unless they fired Shokin, which they did. And he's caught on tape bragging about it. Well, now it's gotten even worse. I want you to listen now to Senator Chuck Grassley, because it goes to the major theme of today's show, and really, I think, the great story of our time, which is the deep state versus democracy, and how the deep state wants to keep everything under secrecy. They want to remain in the shadows. And that's why now they're targeting Trump, because they fear his return to power. Listen now to Senator Chuck Grassley, who saw the original FBI document. Listen now to what he reveals. It was a stunning speech yesterday on the Senate floor. Roll cut 10, Mike.
On the very same day that the FBI provided a redacted version of the 1023 to the House Oversight Committee, the Justice Department then announced that former President Trump had been indicted and charged with 37 crimes related to his alleged mishandling of classified records. Attorney General Garland signed off on prosecuting Trump for conduct similar to what Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton engaged in. Two standards of justice in this country will turn our constitutional republic upside down.
He's completely right. It'll destroy this republic. It'll destroy our country. You cannot stand, a country cannot remain united, and it cannot stand if you have a two-tier justice system. You just can't. Two standards of justice, eventually the country will break down. It's obvious. So, listen now to Grassley, because he says, I want to show you how corrupt the Department of Justice has now become. Roll cut 12, Mike.
With respect to the 1023 shown to that House Oversight Committee, from what I've been told by folks who've reviewed it, it's filled with redactions. Now, the document that Comer and I read had maybe 2 or 3 half-inch redactions, not whole sentences redacted, as I'm told the document in the SCIF is. So, Director Wray placed redactions on a document that's already unclassified.
That to me is just incredible. To other members of Congress on the House Oversight Committee, the FBI Biden bribery document, it's unclassified. How can you redact an unclassified document? The freaking thing is unclassified, and you're redacting it? Whole sentences? But hold on, you know why they're redacting it. Yeah. Listen now to this. Roll cut 13. Mike.
The FBI made Congress review a redacted, unclassified document in a classified facility. That goes to show you the disrespect that the FBI has for Congress.
Obviously. In other words, blank off. You guys are nothing. So what, you're just the body of the elected representatives of the people of the United States? Hey, you don't run this country, we run this country. So we're gonna show you what we want to show you, okay? We redact what we want, and we unredact what we don't want. But here it comes. Here is the bombshell. Roll cut 14. Mike.
The 1023 produced to the House committees redacted reference that the foreign national who allegedly bribed Joe and Hunter Biden allegedly has audio recordings of his conversation with them. 17 such recordings. According to the 1023, the foreign national possesses 15 audio recordings of phone calls between him and Hunter Biden. According to the 1023, the foreign national possesses 2 audio recordings of phone calls between him and then Vice President Joe Biden.
Now, Grassley goes on to state, so this top Burisma executive, it's Zlochevsky, I'm telling you it's Zlochevsky, Mykola Zlochevsky, he's got him on tape. He's got Biden on 15 recordings, Joe Biden on 2 recordings. He's got him on tape where they're admitting they're taking $5 million each. They're engaged in pay to play, in bribery. He's got him on tape. On tape. So forget a document. Now they've got the freaking smoking gun audio tapes. And why does Zlochevsky have him under tape? Why was he secretly recording him? Because he wanted an insurance policy. Roll cut 15, Mike.
These recordings were allegedly kept as a sort of insurance policy for the foreign national in case that he got into a tight spot. The 1023 also indicates that then Vice President Joe Biden may have been involved in Burisma employing Hunter Biden.
This is unbelievable. I mean, this is unbelievable. So, I want you to think about this. The President of the United States right now, Joey, Dementia Joe, is a crook, a criminal, and a traitor. And now the FBI knew, and they were trying to cover up that when he was vice president and the point man for Obama on Ukraine, this SOB took $5 million. His son took $5 million. And they did the bidding of Ukrainians, and they got him on tape, man. They don't just have the bank accounts. They don't have the documents. They don't just have those. They've got him on tape in case they ever need to use it to blackmail or extort the President of the United States. And we are now sending how many hundreds of billions of dollars unlimited aid to Ukraine? They've got the president over a barrel. Our president sold us down the river to line his pockets, compromise the security of the United States, and now is supplying Ukraine to such an extent that we are on the verge of World War III with Mother Russia. And the FBI has the nerve to lie and try to cover up to members of Congress, and they're actually redacting an unclassified document. And had Grassley and Comer not seen the original document, none of this would have come out. Listen now. How much time left, Mike? Okay, here's Grassley saying, we want the whole damn thing, the 1023, this FBI bribery document. We want it all of it, no redactions, make it public, let the American people see what's really going on. Roll cut 17, Mike.
Getting a full and complete 1023 is critical for the American people to know and understand the true nature of the document and to hold the Justice Department and the FBI accountable. It's also important for asserting constitutional congressional oversight powers against an out-of-control executive branch, obviously drunk with political infection.
You're putting it, he's from Iowa. They're very polite. You know, I think he's understating it, frankly, but whatever. He got the goods and he stated the truth. To me, that's all that matters. You have an out-of-control deep state. You've got a rogue DOJ, a rogue FBI, and now we know Joe Biden is corrupt and completely compromised. They've now got him on tape taking bribes. And they're indicting Trump? Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. What the hell is McCarthy waiting for, man? House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, you've got the smoking gun FBI bribery document, the Burisma document. Now there are audio tapes, 17 of them, 15 for Hunter, 2 for Joe, where they're caught on tape admitting they're taking bribes in exchange for changing U.S. policy positions. I mean, you've got them. Pay to play, bribery, treason. Like, what does it take to impeach this guy? 617-266-6868. But no. It's Trump who's in the dock today. In Miami, 3 o'clock, history will be made. Trump will be officially arraigned. What say you? Ron in Holliston. Thanks for holding, Ron, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. Good morning from Massachusetts.
Hey, how are you, Ron?
Good. Hey, I have a few very quick points to make. We are in a political game of chicken with the Democrats, and we need to get them to veer off the road. I like the new strategy of the Republicans by getting onto the liberal networks and just saying what they want to say and not answering the framed questions. And then lastly, Olivia Newton-John said, let's get visible. And I am putting together a Trump standout on the Green Lodge Street Bridge in Canton, bring Trump flags and anti-Biden flags and signs and everything like that.
Ron.
And that's going to be this Saturday, 9 to 1.
This Saturday, 9 to 1. Ron, what do you make of the big protests, allegedly, I'm just going by what's being reported, that are planned in Miami? Do you fear there could be violence? Do you fear the FBI could infiltrate and try to incite a riot or violence to use it to crack down on MAGA supporters like you and me?
I'm going to answer that question like one of the new Republicans. Every action that the Democrats have been taking and the deep states has been for perpetual one-party rule. So I think probably you're right about wanting to have false flags. They at DeSantis event, at the DeSantis event the other day, they had people show up with Nazi flags. I'm sure those aren't white supremacists. I'm sure those are feds or some other plant.
Bingo. Bingo. Ron, thank you very much for that call. And you nailed it. This is about, they want to create a one-party state. That's the indictment of Trump is the beginning now of the Democrats trying to impose one-party rule on the entire country. And it begins by taking out the opposition party's leading political candidate. Greg in Dover. Thanks for holding, Greg, and welcome.
Maybe the thing like that when I came up here. Probably when he.
Hello, Greg. Is he? I think maybe he's ordering like fast food, like maybe at a McDonald's or something. He's ordering an Egg McMuffin, or it's like a fast food drive-through. Okay, Dan in Worcester. Thanks for holding, Dan, and welcome.
Hey, how you doing, Kuhner, man?
I'm good. How are you, Dan?
Great. I've been listening to you for like 2 years now, and this is my first call, and
welcome.
You're a great man. You're a great man. You do good things for this country. I'm telling you that right now.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome, Dan.
But I'm just telling you, I'm driving around with my Trump flag that says Trump 2024, no more BS. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no more bull.
And,
yeah, I get you.
And you should see the beeps and everything I get and thumbs up. But some people are so rude. I was working at my mowing lawns and everything with my brother, and these people came out. There were two gay guys came out, and they started swearing. They came out with a monkey wrench, everything, trying to hit my truck and everything because they hate Trump so bad. It's Trump syndrome 101. It's disgusting. It's disgusting what these people do. And I can't understand it. It's like they're so violent.
Well, no, Dan, no, I've noticed that too. As I said, the emails I'm getting, the text messages, they're unhinged. This is now Trump derangement syndrome on steroids. They've lost their freaking minds. It's obvious now. Dan, this is what I find amazing. You know, it's a free country. The last time I checked, you want to have a Trump flag or a Biden flag or an Obama flag, or I don't care, pick your flag. That's your right. What's it to these two guys with their wrenches, coming after you because they disagree with your political views? What happened to freedom in the First Amendment? I mean, Dan, are we not free to express who we politically support in this country?
This is what I'm saying. I even had little kids that are just getting out of school. I'm at a red light. They're like 8, 10 years old on their bikes. They're little, black kids and everything, and they're saying "F you Trump" because of that. There's a song out that's called "F you Trump," Donald Trump, and they're saying that to me, and I'm like, kids, you're little kids. Why are you doing this? You're just little kids. You don't even know what's going on, and their parents are pushing this on the kids, and it's a terrible thing that's going on in this country. That they're bringing it all on the kids.
Oh, Dan, you're completely right. Look, I want to commend you for your courage. You keep flying that Trump flag. You let him know, Dan, you will not be intimidated. We will not be intimidated. God bless you for that call, Dan. And please don't be a stranger. Call again. No, I mean, it's pure hatred. That what you're seeing now, against Trump, against us, these moonbats that call in, it's pure, unadulterated hatred, and it's making them blind. And they're going to rue the day. I'm telling you, they're going to rue the day that they decided to try to imprison the leading political opponent of the Biden regime. Do we have Greg back? Okay, Greg in Dover. Greg, I've got a minute. The floor is yours. Go.
How you doing today, sir? How you doing?
I'm good, Greg. I got quick because we're running out of time.
Okay. If you don't like this country, why don't you go back to Canada?
What I love this country. Why should I go back to Canada? Like, this is the best you've got? When I present arguments you can't refute, go back to Canada? Pathetic.